Hello, everybody. Welcome to Let's Discuss Mexico's live stream. We're going to do a little bit of housekeeping today. It just so happens that I talked about in our last live stream that I was going to be doing a giveaway when we reached 7,000 subscribers. I have several different colors of laser etched water bottles that we were supposed to be giving away for 7,000 subscribers. Ironically enough, today we hit 7,000 subscribers. That's right, 7,000 subscribers. Today we hit 7,000. So I want to thank all of you for your support. It really means a lot to me that we hit 7,000, and thank you very much. How are you doing, Lisa? How are you doing? I see Lisa's here today. What we're going to do today on our live stream is I'm going to kind of go over what direction we're going to go in with this live stream. I did my inaugural stream last weekend, and I did basically I did a test to see how good it was going to work. And I also wanted to see how often I was going to do it. So I put a poll out to everybody in my community tab. And I asked if they wanted me to do it weekly or monthly. And basically the poll came out that they wanted me to do it monthly. So this is going to be September's stream. The last stream was the inaugural stream. And this is going to be the stream for September. And then I'll be doing another one in October and every month after that. I'm going to have to come up with the rules today for this week. We'll be coming up with the rules for the giveaway, and I'll be giving away one of these nice little coolers here. Not coolers, but water bottles. It's an insulated water bottle, laser etched. And we'll be doing more giveaways as we move on. So basically, that's what we're going to do. I also want to give everybody kind of a direction that I'm going with in the channel and the community. I started doing shorts. I started a series called Let's Learn About Mexico, or Let's Discuss Mexico, or Learn About Mexico in less than 60 seconds. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start doing those. You're probably going to see a lot more of those on the channel. And probably this week, you'll probably see a lot more shorts coming than long content, so I can catch up with the shorts and kind of give it a little bit of an equilibrium there. So that's what direction we're going. I think I also want to grow the community. The Facebook community has been growing very rapidly. I'm getting new requests every day for Facebook members. And we have a lot of new Facebook members that we've been welcoming to the group. And also, we also have the Discord channel, which is the Discord server, which is your chance to chat live. I'm usually available on the Discord. If you need to ask any questions, that's the best way to get a hold of me, or Facebook Messenger. I don't necessarily give out my email address because you guys got to remember I do this for a hobby, and I don't make any money off of this. This is not my full-time job. So, the best way to get a hold of me is through this Discord or through Facebook, through Messenger. How are you doing, Ross? I see your, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for the compliment. And Lisa, thanks a lot for the congratulations. What we'll do today is, like I said, I just wanted to give a little bit of an overview of what direction I'm taking the channel. I'm going to keep up with my videos on the information. I'm hoping to get some more cultural stuff done because it's not the only thing. So keep an eye out for all of that stuff. And I'm going to continue with the Relocating to Mexico show. One of the things that I'm exploring is actually turning it into a podcast. So it will be available in podcast form, also as well as on the YouTube channel. But I haven't decided yet whether I'm going to do that. So we have a lot of things in store. I'm let's see how many people. We've got 12 people here. And as usual, I'm open to answering questions. Today's stream, I want to leave it open to answering any kind of questions. What I'd like from you guys is if you would like to cover certain topics on a certain stream, then we can do that too. Just leave that feedback in the Facebook group. And usually I get a lot of feedback from everybody in the Facebook group. And I take that feedback seriously. I really do. And we'll try to get it done. And let's see here. Let me see here. Anybody have any questions about Mexico? Let me see here. Ross Harris says, the information you reported to us has been valuable and that your inside look helps other people planning to go to the region we are not close to. Thanks a lot for that comment, Ross. One of the things that's very important when you move to Mexico is, one of the most important things when you move to Mexico is doing your research. And that's something that I'm hoping to bring to you guys, is help you guys out with, is doing your research. Like I've said on my Relocating to Mexico show, well, I'm not an expert in everything Mexico. I do have a background in certain types of experience, but that's why I brought Mexico Relocation Guide into the Relocating to Mexico show, because basically I'm trying to bring in different various people from different areas of experience. And that's what's important. And hopefully it'll help you to make a decision on what you want to do and, where you want to go. Because not every place in Mexico is different. And we'll have to see if you'll have to do your research, and you'll have to see and make up your mind for yourself on where you would rather be. A lot of it has to do with climate. Some of it has to do with being close to the border, stuff like that. Let me see. Melanie here has a question. Do you think the income requirements will go down for a retiree? Well, it's kind of a trick question, Melanie. Actually, let me put that one back up so that everybody can see it, that if you're joining the stream right now. Here's my take on the income requirements. Let me explain to you, and I've explained in several of my videos how the income requirements work. There is a move for the income requirements to go down, but there's also a little bit of a problem with the income requirements going down. One of the things that the income requirements are basically, they're based on the minimum wage in Mexico. At one time, this formula that they were using was very viable, and it was very, I guess you could put it in perspective. The problem is, it's basically, for temporary residency, I think it's 300 times the maximum minimum wage, and then for permanent residency, it's 500 times the Mexican minimum wage, which is around 143 pesos at the time right now. The problem is that the minimum wage has grown kind of exponentially in Mexico. So this formula, what used to be probably 5 years ago an income requirement of $1,500 or $1,100 a month, has now become closer to $2,500, $2,600, $2,700, depending on which consulate you go to. And most consulates do it, they determine the exchange rate. There's another formula or another indicator called the UMA indicator, okay? And the UMA indicator, and actually all the formulas in Mexico were done with the minimum wage. That's how they would calculate fines, how they calculate taxes. Well, back in 2016, the Mexican government said, the minimum wage is no longer viable. Okay, it's not telling us what the minimum wage is. The actual economic situation of Mexico. So we're gonna go and do another unit of measure, and it's called the UMA measure, and it's about 89 pesos, which would make the minimum around $1,500 to $1,600, $1,700, depending on where you put the exchange rate. In 2016, the Mexican government basically told all the different agencies and all the different departments that they must go to this new formula in figuring out what you're going to do for fines and everything else. Well, it turns out that pretty much the government went to that, most of the departments, but immigration and the consulates, was SRE, which is Exterior Relations, did not. Back in 2016, they basically said we're going to stick to the minimum wage. The reason for that is because they have full discretion in issuing your visa. Basically, the consulate, when you apply at a consulate, they have full discretion. As a matter of fact, even if you meet the qualifications, they can disqualify you. If they had a bad day, if they don't like you, they can disqualify you. Well, basically, what happened this last year is the president said, you know what, immigration, you need to go to the UMA formula because you're one of the and immigration was following the consulates because, well, it's got to be equal, right? Well, last year, and this caused a lot of confusion. A lot of people, and as a matter of fact, several blogs put out that the financial requirements have gone down. Well, last year, immigration was directed to go to the UMA formula so that when you go to the consulate, they have one formula, and when you go to immigration, they have this new formula, which is lower. The problem is that the consulates have been very resistant to it. Last year, when they were going down, a lot of consulates changed their financial requirements. Some of them didn't make sense. Some of them were using the UMA formula. But basically, each consulate is allowed to decide what formula they want to use. For some reason, the consulates, because they are in a diplomatic level, they don't have to conform with the rest of the government. Basically, even though the government said everybody must be on the UMA formula, they don't have to because they have that discretion. Now, here's where I see the income requirements coming down eventually. I think that we've seen some consulates that have actually started using what looks like the UMA formula. For example, the consulate in McAllen's down to, I think, $1,700. And if you do the math with the UMA formula, that sounds about right. So I can see, eventually, I can see the exterior relations kind of saying, okay, I was hoping this was going to happen last year, but it hasn't, unfortunately. But what we have seen is some positive moves in the right direction. Last year, several consulates lowered their requirement, and this year we see McAllen at probably one of the lowest at $1,700. So, I see it going down. When? Well, I couldn't tell you when. And let me see here. And Cindy followed up with, is Numbio a good source for weeding out dangerous cities? They crowdsource, and since some in Mexico would rather gringos stay home, could they give false info? I'm not very familiar with Numbio. I would take crowdsourced information with a grain of salt because I'm a little bit, because when I used to work for the government, we used to use those types of statistics. Those types of statistics, we never really took them as serious, but they were utilized a lot of times in the intelligence community. But, one of the things that you have to do is take it with a grain of salt. I think the best thing, Cindy, is to do your research. get on these Facebook groups. Yes, I have been kind of a little bit wary of some of the Facebook groups now. Sometimes it can be a little bit daunting. Some people can be a little bit mean. But for the most part, what I do is I tell you to go, what I tell everybody is to go to as many sources as you can. And once you go to those sources, just kind of look at what everybody's saying. And usually when people say the same thing, you get up 50 answers. And when 25, 26 or 27 answers say pretty much the same thing, you can pretty much discard the rest of the answers. Because a lot of people have different experiences and different opinions, and you want to go with what's the most consistent. And, I would look at the Numbeo numbers, but at the same time, take them with a grain of salt. Take those numbers and then go do your research. That's my advice. And even with a lot of issues that we have here in Mexico, people talk about the violence and people talk about cartels. Yes, it exists, but like I said before, it exists in a different context, and you have to see anywhere you go in the world. If you go in the United States, I can tell you there's plenty of places where there's a lot of crime, where there's all that stuff, but am I going to base the whole United States on New York or Chicago or, Los Angeles? Not necessarily. But at the same time, for certain people that want to move to a big city, Mexico City might be the place for you because you want to go to a city like New York. So you just have to take those things into consideration and do your research and figure out what's best for you. Okay, Z-Mac. Can retirees grow their own small gardens? Are you talking in public places, or are you talking at your place where you plan to live? I can answer you this. If you own a place, you can definitely. We have our own garden in our home, and also if you rent at a rental property, one of the videos that I did was when we talked about renting. You can be specific in the lease, and you can grow. And some places will allow you, depending on the landlord, will allow you to grow your gardens. Now, I do know of projects where they grow gardens in certain towns and places. And those places, basically, you have to get permission from the city. And usually it's a project, community project. And there's a lot of them that happen all over Mexico and are sponsored by foreigners that like to beautify the city. So that is a project you can look into if you want to do it on a public scale. But as far as growing gardens, I can tell you in Monterrey, in my in-laws' backyard right now, we have oranges, we have lemons, we have papayas. And so you can, we also have romero, which is rosemary, and we have different herbs growing in the back patio. And in my new house here, that we plan to grow our own garden, have different types of fruits and vegetables. Do I have any more questions? Anybody? Any more questions? Let me see here. What I'm going to do is we're going to stick, and I'm going to try to keep these streams to about an hour. We had a lot of questions in the last stream. And if we get enough questions, I'll go over, because I went over to about an hour and a half the last time. And if we need to go over an hour, that's not a problem. If, things wrap up in 30 minutes, that's fine too. I'm here to help. And that's the reason why I started doing these live streams. A little bit late in my YouTube journey. I know a lot of people started up their live streams a lot quicker. I tried one live stream to Facebook and it had a lot of issues because I was still learning. And now I kind of got it down. So we'll see where this takes us. I want to keep variety in my channel. Like I said, I do the Relocating to Mexico show. We'll see if the podcasting becomes a reality, and also let's see what else will come out of it, and the shorts too. Let me see. Lisa is asking, if you are not a resident, is it hard to rent if you don't go through an Airbnb? Actually, if you're not a resident, it's not hard to rent because it depends on the renter. What kind of contract you make with the renter. I do know that people come down and rent and it's not just through Airbnb, but there's a lot of people that come down. A lot of we call them, I know in South Texas, we call them winter visitors, or snowbirds, or whatever you want, people that come down in the winter. We have a lot of that come down. A lot of those people come down to Mexico during the wintertime and spend 3 to 6 months here. I personally know of an individual that I used to work with. He retired and he went to San Miguel de Allende for 6 months, and he got a really great deal on a lease. As a matter of fact, he actually got a discount because he paid 6 months in advance. So you can lease or rent, and you don't have to go through Airbnb. There's a lot of, depending on where you want to go, you can actually find people that'll help you find rentals. The only thing that you might run into, and this is a reality now with the immigration situation, is, okay, you rent for 6 months, you sign a 6 months lease, and you only get 60 days of permission. So, but we're seeing a lot of people get 180 days again. So let's see what happens. Let's see where that takes us. But yes, you can rent. The short answer is yes, you can rent if you're not a resident. And actually, a lot of people come down and they rent for a couple of months just to see if the place is for them before they even apply for residency, to even see if they want to move to Mexico. And ZMAC, does Mexico, I would think they're saying, does Mexico need teachers? I don't know what the requirements for to be a teacher here is, but I do know a lot of foreigners come here to teach English. There's a lot of private schools that contract foreign teachers. Here in Monterrey, I'm in Monterrey right now. We have several private schools that are run there's an American school here, and there's a German school. There's several private schools here, and those contract foreign teachers. It would just be a matter of finding out. Now, in the public system, in the public system, it's a little bit different. You have to have whatever requirements you need to have to be a teacher here in Mexico. But like I said, there are plenty of private schools, and back in San Miguel, where I'm living is in Querétaro. There's several private schools. Okay, Melanie, I plan to fly in Mexico and travel for about 82 days. How soon can I come back on a new FMM? That really, Melanie, hasn't been, to be honest with you, immigration hasn't really set any standards on how long you can be out and all of that stuff. I think one of the things that we're seeing now with this new electronic FMM system is, and I'm not sure if it's still something that they're experimenting with, and maybe everybody's getting 180 days. I don't know if it's a system where they're just going to say, okay, the first time you come in, as long as you don't come in too often or back to back. I don't know how they're going to do it or how they're going to implement it. but you know, it's in flux. Immigration will go from one day to giving everybody 180 days to last year, what we saw in a lot of the major airports where people were just getting 7 days, 5 days, even though they had hotel reservations or return tickets. It's very hard to, it's very hard to determine how soon you can come back. You know, what I think the Mexican government is trying to do is oh my goodness, we have a super chat. Thank you, Amir. Thank you very much for the donation. I really appreciate it. Amir donated $9.99 to super chat. Thank you, Amir. But getting back to what I was saying is, I think the Mexican government was having a problem with individuals that were living here perpetually on a tourist visa. And that's what they want to prevent. I don't think it's that they want to prevent people from coming back every year, or snowbirds, or someone coming for 3 months. I think even the snowbird thing or the winter visitor thing, that they want people to say, you know what, why don't you just get residency? That way you don't even have to worry about a visitor's permit. You're retired. You're going to come here for 6 months out of the year. And what's great about Mexican residency, and I repeat, what's great about Mexican residency is you don't have to live here. In the United States, if you hold permanent residency in the United States, if you leave the United States for more than 180 days, you're no longer considered a resident. Now, of course, the government has to prove that you weren't living there for 180 days, but for some reason they figure out that you weren't living there for 180 days. You're no longer a resident. In Mexico, you could technically not live here for 5 years and have your permanent residency and come back on your permanent residency card. There is no required time that you have to live here in Mexico. Now, there are requirements if you want to get citizenship. So, and I want to give a shout out to Amir, who just did a super chat, but he made a comment. Your videos have been an invaluable source in our planning for our move. Also, my daughter survived cancer at 19, and your story of survival really touched me. Thanks so much for all you do. And actually, thanks, Amir, and for that super chat, and thank you very much for the kind comments. I want to make everybody one thing clear about my channel is that, you know, it's a nonprofit project, and yes, my channel is monetized, but I don't make quite enough to cover my expenses. Most of my expenses come out of my pocket. But, you know, the thing is that I want to provide a source of information that's non-biased, that's not driven by profit. It's not driven by a fact that I own a business, or I'm not trying to get a client here. What I'm trying to do is provide information that will help you in deciding. I'm not the only source of information. I'm not the only place to go to. But, you know, I have told people time and time again, it's your decisions that you need to make. And I'm trying to bring you that information that you need. And I'll tell you what, those kind comments that everybody sends me, that's what keeps me going. That's the true motivation that I have, not necessarily financial rewards. And we always say here at Retired Life in Mexico, integrity and quality of information come before profit. And like I said, thank you very much, Amir. And I do know that several people have also made some great comments here. And I want to stress again that I really appreciate that. That's what keeps this YouTube channel going. Truly, truly, that's what keeps it going. And Orlando Gonzalez asked a question here. Would I need to open a bank account in Mexico, or can I use my US bank? You know, Orlando, you have a real good question. And actually, I haven't even done a video on that, and I should. I can tell you what I do. I have a US bank. Of course, I have a US pension from the US government, so that gets direct deposited into my US bank. But I also have a Mexican bank account. There's two things that you encounter, but you can overcome with an American bank, is ATM fees. You get charged ATM fees. Now, I do know that I think it's Charles Schwab. There's Capital One, Charles Schwab. They waive the ATM fees. So there's a lot of people that what they do is they move over to Charles Schwab or Capital One, and they utilize their debit card. They go to an ATM and they pull out pesos and they pay with pesos. And yeah, pretty much I pay at the restaurants with my debit card from my American bank. The other issue you can run into with American banks and utilizing American banks is you might not get the best exchange rate. One of the tricks at the ATM machine is when you go in and you put an American debit card in there to withdraw money, it'll say 18.5 is the current rate. This is how many pesos we'll give you. Will you accept this? And you always say no because you want the bank rate. Usually they'll give you the rate that's at the bank, but sometimes the exchange rate's going to be a little bit lower and there's no really telling. What I do is I also have a Mexican bank account, and I'll tell you why. One of the reasons why I have a Mexican bank account is that you're going to notice that here in Mexico, cash is king. There's two ways of doing business. It's either cash, or a lot of people do money transfers. For example, your housekeeper may come over and you might say, okay, thank you, I'm going to pay you. Oh, just send me a transfer. And actually, the money transfer system here from bank to bank is real easy. They'll even give you their debit card number, and you can go into your phone app or your online banking here in Mexico, and you can actually transfer money, sort of like Cash App or sort of like Zelle. They don't have Cash App here or Zelle. It's direct from bank to bank. And it's literally cool because you can send from BBVA to a person that has an account in Scotiabank, or you can send from HSBC to BBVA. So that's what I do. Now, how do I fund this account? I use a service called, and I found they gave me the best, they do charge a fee, but in the end, what I'm finding with the exchange rates and everything else, I actually get more value for my money, moving my money, depending on how the exchange rates change. So if the exchange rate goes up, I send money right away, but I use a service called TransferWise or Wise. They changed their name to Wise, and I send the money to my Mexican bank account. And usually if I send $1,000, it gets there within a couple of hours. I usually keep a reserve in my Mexican bank account, and it's just a lot easier to do business here if you have a Mexican bank account. But you don't need one. You can get away without one. I use my American credit cards here because Mexican credit cards, the interest rate's outrageous. And if I need to in a pinch, I pull out my American credit cards. They work fine. They usually give you a decent rate, whatever the bank rate is. But you have to be very careful. And also, if you're going to use your American bank account, I would make sure I'd make inquiries with my bank to make sure. I don't have a Charles Schwab. I use Wells Fargo. I get hit with the ATM fees every time I use the ATM. But like I said, I transfer money to my Mexican bank account, so I don't worry in that sense. Okay, Lisa Arias Bess also asked another question. How much in advance should you apply for residency? We're retiring and moving to Mexico in 2024. Well, I'll tell you what, Lisa, here's my answer. It's never too early. Like I said earlier in my stream right now, there is no requirement of having to live here in Mexico. If you start off with temporary residency, usually they'll give it to you for a year, and then you have to renew it in a year, and then you can renew it for up to 3 years. And then at the end of 4 years total, then you can convert it into permanent residency. And what's really great is if you qualify, even for temporary residency, do it now. Why not? The income requirements are lower. They might go up, they might go down. You don't know. If you qualify right now, get your residency. The only thing you'll need to do is if you don't qualify for permanent, like I said, in a year, you'll have to come back and reapply renew your temporary, but you can renew it up to 3 years and not have to worry about it for 3 years. And by 2024, you should already be here. And then you renew into permanent residency. The only issue you might have if you want permanent residency right off the bat And this all depends on the consulates again. Some consulates, because permanent residency basically says that it has to be a pension sourced income, or that's what the official regulations are. I have a pension, so I actually showed my pension letter, but I also qualify for through 3 different other ways. But excuse me, I hit the microphone here, but I didn't apply for permanent residency off the bat. But for permanent residency, some of the consulates are requiring that you have a certain age requirement, that you have to reach 60 years old before they'll consider you retired, no matter how much you make or whether you meet the requirements. Other consulates are, as long as you meet the requirements, not a problem. So it all depends on the consulate, but you can get temporary residency now. There's no reason or nothing holding you back. The only thing that might be holding you back, of course, is you work and you have your own basically the responsibilities that you have to keep up with that you might not be able to have. You might not have the time, but it's never too far in advance to apply. And the reason why I say that is because there is no requirement. Like I repeat, there is no requirement that you must live here once you obtain residency. You can come and go from Mexico with a residency card as much as you want, and you can live here as long as you want or as little as you want. So that's never too early. And Z-Max said, good question, Orlando. I was thinking about maybe it's good to have both if allowed. Yes, you're allowed to have both bank accounts, and it is a good idea to have both. I like I said, I have both. And actually, Amir brings up a good point. And I have credit cards with Chase, and I can confirm this, not with the ATM, but with the foreign transaction fees. That's another thing that you could get hit with certain banks, is what they call foreign transaction fees. And foreign transaction fees basically is a percentage of the total amount of the transaction. So you'll get hit with an ATM fee, and then you get hit with a foreign transaction fee. The thing with some banks, and Amir brought up a good point, is that Chase doesn't charge ATM fees worldwide. I don't have a Chase account, and I've never withdrew on a Chase account, but I can confirm I have Chase credit cards, and when I purchase something with Chase, they do not charge the foreign transaction fee. So that's a good thing to point out. I think Chase said you have to have at least a Sapphire account. I'm not too familiar with the bank accounts, but I do have Chase credit cards, and they do not charge me the foreign transaction fees when I do credit card transactions here. Let's see here. Orlando, good info, thanks. I'm in a similar situation. I have a government pension. Yeah, and also one thing, Orlando, that you might want to check into, what I do, talking about government pensions and government benefits, is I actually have an insurance plan. My government insurance plan basically covers me overseas. The only thing is it's through reimbursement. So I have to actually pay my cost. My cancer treatment was done here in Mexico. My insurance company did cover the cost, but I had to come up with the money up front. But I was reimbursed, and actually it ended up less out of pocket. The only thing is I had to come up with the money up front. But that's another thing you might want to check into, being that you're on a government pension, Orlando. Whether to keep your insurance or not. That's another thing to consider. But that being on a government pension, you have to get your direct deposit into your American bank account. But it's always good. It's always a good thing to have a Mexican bank account. I'll even tell you a personal story. I have a niece that came here to study at the Tecnológico de Monterrey, which is a private university here. And one of the things that she's squaring away right now is, of course, her driver's license and everything else. and she has her little ATM card in her bank account. I don't know if it's Wells Fargo or Wells Fargo is very common where she's from, but one of the things that we were pointing out is that you have a lot of friends that are going to be saying, hey, we're going to have a party, everybody pitch in. And then whoever's collecting is going to say, yeah, just send me a transfer. So one of the things that we're in the process of doing is trying to help her out in getting a bank account. And, we stressed it to her parents that she needs a bank account because at least she can do certain transactions very quickly. You'll find here in Mexico that you can do transfers. You can even pay your electric bill through your bank account. And then what you'll find also is at convenience stores. You can actually go and deposit money into somebody's bank account from a convenience store if you have their account number. You can pay your bills from the convenience store or the supermarket. You can recharge your phone. So, that's one of the things that that's very convenient here. And having a Mexican bank account sure is one of them. RA. I hear Mexican consulates in the U.S. sometimes will do permanent residency right away if you have the funds. I'm 46 and able to retire or work remotely part-time, but do you think they would approve? Here's the thing. Yes, it is true that some of the consulates will accept a certain amount. If you have the funds, basically, most of the people that get accepted through for permanent, most of the people that get accepted for permanent residency that aren't of the age of retirement are usually accepted two ways that I've been hearing in the consulate. One of them is like me, I retired at 52 years old and I had a letter, or not a letter, but my government pension, there's a form that they call them SF-52s that says you're retired. So I took that with me. Ironically enough, that's not how I qualified for my residency, but I took it anyway. And then another way is through large investment, like basically I have $1 million in a bank account or I have $1 million in funds and I'm showing you that I meet the 300,000 or whatever it is that you need in savings. So a lot of times they're just saying, okay, fine, you have the funds and you've shown 12 months of bank statements that you have the funds, not a problem. Here's what I tell most people. First of all, figure out if your consulate will do that. And second of all, there's nothing, it won't hurt you if you get temporary residency first. So if you go there, just remember one thing. Yes, apply for permanent residency, but let's say they say, well, you don't meet the age requirements, blah, blah, blah. Then the first thing you say is, okay, well then can I apply for temporary? Because I meet the requirements for temporary if I meet them for permanent. So why don't we just do temporary? Just be real nice to the consulate officer. Hopefully they won't make you make another appointment because Mexico can be very bureaucratic and they might say, make another appointment. But in most cases, a lot of times they just say, okay, well, you don't qualify for permanent, we'll give you temporary. The only difference with temporary and permanent is, like I said, you have to renew it after 1 year, but after 1 year, you don't have to worry about it for another 3 years. And then you automatically go to permanent. You just renew it, just like you're renewing your temporary, but you're renewing it in a permanent residency. There's no financial requirements. So, if you can't qualify for permanent, I know that it's really great to say, I'm going to get permanent residency. And I will tell you, me personally, I had temporary residency for 2 years before I converted to permanent. I'm married to a Mexican citizen, and there are some advantages to temporary residency. You can bring a vehicle for the amount of time that you have your temporary residency from a foreign plated vehicle. Some people want to bring their car. That was when I originally came to Mexico, that was my intention. I was going to bring my American vehicle. And it was funny because I had my pension letter and everything else, and I'm married to a Mexican citizen. I had everything ready. And the consulate officer says, are you sure you don't want permanent? And I said, no, because I'm going to bring a vehicle. I want temporary. I actually asked for temporary over permanent. And the consulate officer looked at me kind of weird and says, "Oh, that's kind of weird. You don't want permanent? I'm giving you permanent." I said, "No. I want it for a vehicle." She said, "Well, you're married to a Mexican citizen too, right?" "Yeah, okay. Well, does she have her paperwork?" "Yeah." "Well, you know what? Makes my job easier. I'm just going to prove you on being married to a Mexican citizen." So there's nothing wrong with getting temporary residency if you don't. If your goal is to get permanent, go for it. If you're only 46 years old, you have the funds, you have the ability, go for it, because a lot of people are getting approved for permanent. If you get the kickback, if you get the resistance from the consulate, then just tell them, "Hey, I don't have a problem with temporary residency. I'll start with temporary residency. Not a problem. Just more steps to go through." And Amir, I'm in the same boat as RA, but we're going the temp route first because it has the benefits of being able to drive a foreign tagged car while we're in Mexico. And actually, Amir, you just repeated what I'm not repeated. You were saying it before I said it, but that is one of the benefits, is having a vehicle. You can bring that vehicle in. Okay, Cindy has a good point here. Said, "Lisa, just know that once you are granted permanent residency at the U.S. consulate, you must go to Mexico within 6 months to complete the process, or you have to start over at your consulate." That is true. You have 180 days to go to Mexico. Once you enter Mexico, because you have to get an FMM in the airports that are giving, if you fly in the airports that are not issuing FMMs, they will stamp in your passport canje, and the FMM, those that have to fill out an FMM, will fill out an FMM and it'll be marked canje. Canje means that you're here to do your residency. You have 30 days. Once you enter, you have 30 days to report to an INM office, make an appointment, and do your residency. Some INM offices are so backlogged that they're doing appointments 2 months from now. I think I just saw on one of the blogs, on one of the Facebook groups, I think Querétaro was booking appointments for October and November. So they could be. Now, here's the thing. Immigration realizes this. They realize that they're backlogged. As long as you make the appointment before the 30 days is up, then you'll be fine. Other immigration offices, what they're doing, if they know you're coming in on canje, they know you have the 30 days, they try to get you in before the 30 days. So it just depends on which office you go to. So some offices are saying as long as you get the appointment before the 30 days, not a problem. So you have 180 days, remember that, to go to Mexico on that FOIL visa. And once you enter Mexico, you have 30 days to report to INM. And Jim Solomon, I'm on the fence about moving to Mexico, but my only experience in Mexico has been when I'm on vacation. What would you say is the right way to go about deciding if Mexico is right for me? I'll tell you what, Jim, there's a lot of people on the fence. I had no intention of moving to Mexico myself. We ended up coming here on vacation and we loved it so much. And I ended up, like I said, I walked away with a house. That's not exactly the best way to do it. What I suggest to a lot of people, there's a lot of, I know Mexico Relocation Guide does what they call relocation tours, which are specialized, not just on a vacation. Basically what they do is they take you on a tour of different areas of Mexico, but not necessarily to go on vacation. What they do is you go on this tour, they take you, maybe 3 days in San Miguel. They introduce you to real estate agents. They show you property there. You go and you see the different things there. They introduce you to, they have tour guides that'll introduce you to the different neighborhoods so you can get an idea. Now, I know Mexico Relocation Guide does these types of tours. Now, if you can't do that, my best thing to suggest to you is kind of keep coming on vacation, but what you do is come here for a month, come here for 2 months, rent a place for 180 days, for example. I do know a couple from Wisconsin that they thought Puerto Vallarta was right for them. They rented for 6 months. They did their residency. They went ahead and moved to Puerto Vallarta, but they found out that Puerto Vallarta just wasn't for them, and they ended up in San Miguel. So they're renting in San Miguel for 6 months right now, and they're going to see if San Miguel's for them. There's different ways to go about it. And then if you just don't like it, then, you're not tied down. My thing is, don't buy anything. One of my advices is don't buy anything unless you're really planning to live here or you're going to be vacationing here. Like, for example, vacation home. You have the means to buy a vacation home and you're going to come here every year, or, it's okay. But if you want to get your residency now, get your residency, because, if you get your temporary residency and you come here and you live here for a month, 3 months, 6 months, you don't like it, you go home, you just don't renew your temporary residency. There's nothing wrong with not renewing it. Now, I will advise that if your temporary residency does expire, now your permanent residency never expires as long as you don't come in as a tourist again. But if your temporary residency does expire, you must renew it. You must start the process at least 30 days before. I think they let you have to do it with it at least, I think there's a 30 days before your residency expires, you have to reapply for your renewal. But if you don't renew it, you have to start the process all over again. So just remember that. So if you're trying out places, you get temporary residency, you're trying out places. But there's nothing wrong with coming here and on a tourist visa and staying in Cancun for 60 days, staying in San Miguel for another 60 days, or maybe even if you get in a 180-day, right now there's several airports that are giving 180 days automatically. So you come in and just do your itinerary, travel to the different places. Airfare is real cheap here. It's really budget. But it's not luxury flying, but you can fly from Mexico City to Monterrey for $100, $200. You can go from Monterrey to Cancun for another $100, $200. Yeah, and so if you're doing it on a budget, it is doable. Or like I said, you can book one of these relocation tours, which are actually specifically just for that, just to take you to different places. Certain relocation tours are to only certain locations, because let's say you picked a location and you want to go to that location and you spend a week there and they take you around the town. They even introduce you to local people. Actually, I had the honor when I was in San Miguel of meeting up with a relocation tour, and I actually gave them my feedback, what it was like to live there, where they might want to live if they come to San Miguel de Allende. So. And we're coming up on an hour here. If we have any more questions, let's see. And Lisa says, thank you for all, and thanks for the info. Well, actually, Lisa, thank you for giving me this opportunity to be able to help people that want to move to Mexico, even the people that want to travel to Mexico. A lot of my channel has content on whether you want to travel. I keep up to date on what's going on with the FMMs, what's going on with immigration, any kind of changes that are going on with that. So even if you want to travel to Mexico, I'm here, and I'm here to help. And like I said, we're a nonprofit organization, and well, I'm not really an organization, it's me and my significant other, but we're both a nonprofit organization, and we plan to keep this nonprofit. And thank you very much. And Amir, I saw your short this week. Great stuff. Loved it. I plan to do a lot more shorts. And as a matter of fact, what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to do the long form content that actually explains everything. That's what I'm trying to do in my shorts right now, is like for example, those 15 facts. If you really want to know about those 15 facts, I have the video that I did on the 15 pack, or the 10 facts, not the facts about Mexico. what I'm going to try to do is this this is a short 60-second explanation, and then go to my video you want to know more. So I'm going to try to complement the shorts with the actual video. So, and I have gotten feedback, and this is one of the things that I want to let everybody know, is that your feedback is very important. And I know that some people have been kind of embarrassed to say, well, you know, I don't mean to criticize you. I'm sorry if I'm criticizing. No. One of the things that I always tell everybody is is that one of the things that I tell people is that without your feedback, I can't improve. And one thing you got to remember, when I started this venture, I had no experience with a camera, no experience in video editing. I'm barely getting experience in doing this live streaming stuff. So one of the feedbacks that I got was in my earlier videos was that, get to the point, or your introduction needs to be shorter. So, I take all of that seriously, and that's very important to me. So keep that feedback coming so that I can improve, and that so I can bring you better content. And it's very important to me to get that feedback and to be able to improve. And one of the feedbacks that I got, and one of the reasons why I'm getting into shorts, was that a lot of people said, well, look, I love all that other. See, the thing with me on my videos is I try to give a full explanation so that you know exactly what's going on. Why are they only giving 180 days? How does this system work? And my thing is, in order for you to understand how the system works, or in order for you to understand how something works, I need to give you an explanation. But at the same time, there's those people that just say, look, I want to know whether I'm going to get 180 days or not. That's all I want to know. I don't want to know why. I don't want to know about computer systems. I don't want to know how immigration works. So just tell me in what's the gist of it. And I want to be able to cater to those people too. And I want to be able to give you in the shorts, hey, this is the gist of it. If you want to know the explanation and the reason, I've done a full video on it, and you can refer to the full video. And hopefully you'll want to know more. But the shorts will give you the quick, short, and simple answer to the topic. And I'm going to try to keep it up. And let's see how long I can keep it up. But I'm going to try to keep several coming a week, and hopefully that'll help. And it'll complement my regular videos. So normally what you're going to find, now I will do some shorts that won't have a normal video, but to explain certain things in Mexico, like, okay, how do I pay my electric bill in Mexico? I'm not going to do a 15-minute video on how to pay your electric bill, but I can explain it in 60 seconds. And if I can explain it in 60 seconds, I'm going to do a short. So it's going to open up a lot of things for me. So we've hit our hour, and I really am grateful that you guys came along. Thank you very much for visiting my live stream. We are going to have a live stream in October. We're going to have them on Sundays. I depending on my schedule, it's going to be one of the 4 Sundays of one of the 4 weekends of that month, and it'll be on a Sunday, and it'll be at 5 o'clock, just like it is today. And so we'll see you in October on my live stream, and we'll see you on our channel. We'll see you on the Facebook group, and hope to see you on Discord. And if you have any questions, feel free to get a hold of me on Discord or ask those questions. As a matter of fact, I just had somebody log on to Discord today and was asking a question, and I was able to answer it, and they got an answer right away. Pretty much, the Discord is a chat app, just somewhat like WhatsApp. So, you can post your stuff there. The other nice thing about Discord and Slack, I also have Slack set up, and I have them bridged. So whatever comes out on Discord comes out on Slack, and whatever comes out on Slack comes out on Discord. So one of the things that I want to remind you is that if you don't like Discord and you like Slack because you've used Slack before, you can use Slack. But one of the things that I do have on there, I have news feeds, Mexico Daily Post, El Norte, La Reforma. I think I'm going to add 2 more news feeds to both. And that way, even what's really great, and I also post my videos as soon as the video comes out, I post it to Discord and Slack. So, you know, even if you don't participate or you don't have a question, sign up for our Discord channel or in our Slack channel. You'll be the first one to get, actually, whenever I post a video, that's where I post it first, before I actually post it to the YouTube channel. And then I also, the news feeds are really great. Mexico Daily Post it's an English news feed that actually is giving news from throughout Mexico in English. And La Reforma is out of Mexico City, and El Norte is out of the north. And I use El Norte a lot to find out what's going on. You can actually click on those articles, and you can click on those articles, and then if you go on the internet and you click on those articles, you can actually hit the translate button, and they translate pretty well. Nerd Uno said that Discord has gotten political in their culture, so I don't use it. Well, I'll tell you what, Nerd, as far as our group, there's no politics that goes on in our group, and I haven't had to ban anybody. Everybody's been pretty nice in our group. There's not a lot of activity that goes on in the Discord servers. I'd like to see more, but it's a good, and actually, Uno, like I said, you can use Slack too. They're bridged. So whatever you post on Slack will come out on the Discord channels. I got basically a copy on Slack of what I got on Discord. So if you don't want to use Discord, and Nerd said, actually, I mean the Discord company itself. Yeah, I understand if you don't want to use Discord, but like I said, we have Slack too. So if you have, for ideological reasons, that you don't want to use Discord, Slack is also, like I said, as a matter of fact, I have an individual, his name's Trent, that always posts on Slack, comes out on Discord, and I actually respond to him from Discord because I use that a little bit more than I use Slack. But I have it set up on both Slack and Discord. So if you don't, and Slack for a lot of people is a lot easier to use. So I'd really like to thank for everybody for coming. And like I said, we'll see you all on all the different social media platforms. We'll see you next month on my next live stream. Keep an eye out for the shorts. You're probably going to see more shorts and long form content in the next week because I'm going to try to catch up. And thanks for visiting. We'll see you soon. And that's a wrap.